has given me lessons on giving good mic. Is it really? I did say that. I made an innuendo, not a comment that could be, that's all about how you perceive, not how I say. There's a difference. Okay, so are we recording? All right, we're recording. So thank you all for coming. This has been a fabulous day at Bsides Nash. I hope you all have enjoyed the sessions as much as I have. Make sure if you get the chance to thank all the people running around in pink shirts because they did a lot of work. And I hope each and every one of you gets to suffer through putting on your own show like this, con or something like that, because A, it's amazing, B, everybody needs to experience that so they can appreciate everybody else's hard work. So buy them a beer or whiskey, whatever they drink. So my talk is Why You Are Already Pwned and You Don't Even Know It, which is a confusing title so that people will come and listen to the talk and figure out what I'm talking about. So my bio. My name is Ben Miller. I work for Parameter Security. We're based out of St. Louis. We are a pen testing firm. We do compliance audits. We do a lot of other stuff that I'll talk about. But my background is actually a little convoluted, and I like to give it as this is the reason why I talk like I do about the things that I do. So I started as a young man interested in movies. Does anybody recognize the movie on the screen? Sneakers, absolutely. And I thought it was hilarious that Adrian, not the one who's here recording, but the homeless hacker, on May 11th, Mother's Day, decided to give a shout out to Dan Aykroyd in Sneakers because his character's name is Mother. So that's where I started. I saw that first scene where they break into the bank, and I'm just like, that's a really cool job. And then Robert Redford hands the money to the execs, and he's rattling off the things they're doing wrong. And I'm like, you get to tell bank execs that they're idiots. This is a really cool job. And then he goes downstairs to get his check, and the secretary of the bank says, so what you do for a living is you break into places so that other people won't break into these places. And he's like, yeah, it's a living. And the bank secretary, this is the important point, says, oh, not a very good one. And I'm like, oh, there's no money in this. I'll find something else to do. So I still became an IT guy because basically I grew up on a farm in Northeast Missouri, and manual labor is hard. So I said, I want to do something easier. How about I type on a keyboard and sit in an air-conditioned server room all day? Yes. So I went to school for that. I took a 2-year degree to become a computer network administrator, which was pretty much useless, especially when I graduated in 2001 and there was this kind of .com bubble pop problem. So IT, especially in Northeast Missouri, not a lot of jobs to be had. So I went back to school for something completely different. That I now call my social engineering degree. What I did after that was I hated that job, and so I decided to get back into IT. Luckily, a friend of mine was the IT administrator at what's known as a critical access hospital, which all the jokes that Adam just told, I lived that. If you missed that, or if you're watching at home, watch Adam John's talk. Yeah, healthcare is weird, and doctors can be idiots. They'll save your life. Does anybody here, have you ever heard the joke, what's the difference between a surgeon and God? God doesn't think he's a surgeon. I had to deal with those people. And it's not that they are idiots, it's that they can be idiots. And this is an important point. It's not something wrong in them that's the problem. It's how they act, behavior type problems. So I did healthcare for about 5 some odd years. I put in a bunch of systems. I worked with a bunch of IT people. That HIPAA thing came up, and I was like, oh, crap. My name's on the list of people that goes to jail or gets fined if things go wrong security-wise. I might want to know what the security stuff happens, what kind of attacks can come to me. So I went to a company called Parameter Security to learn how hackers think. And Dave Chronister was the guy who taught me what I know. And he also said, you're not an idiot. I need people that help me do my job. You want to do some contract work? And I said, why, yes, I do. Because I was thinking of the sneakers stuff. Like, I can break into banks. I can walk into bank vaults. I can trick people. I can go through the man trap, walk 2 millimeters per second or whatever it was. Yes, please, God, I want that job. And I found out that, yes, there is all the cool parts you've ever heard of in pen testing. It is the most amazing job on the face of the earth, and I am one of the few people I know that walks into the office every day and says, I get to go to work today, which is rare. Some of the reason why I do that is not just because I do the pen testing, but because we have an organization called Hacker University, and this is our training arm. That social engineering degree that I mentioned, I was actually a Southern Baptist minister for a year and a half. I know, kind of weird, right? How do those two tie together, Ben? Why, I'm glad you asked. And again, all views expressed are mine and mine alone, but people really haven't changed. All those funny stories in the Bible, and there are tons of funny stories in the Bible if you read it, people still do the same stupid stuff. And so I've learned that by interacting with people like I did at that school when I was a pastor, and standing in front of a crowd like this, teaching people how security people think, how hackers think, how regular people think, because regular people don't know how they think sometimes, that translates really well. And so I do a lot of pen testing, but I also do a lot of training people to think like hackers, which is fun. You know you want to learn, if you don't know already. The other piece that we do is parameter forensics, and I'm just going to say this in order to get it as a record that will hopefully stand the test of time as long as the internet exists. I really hate forensics. And if you've ever done any kind of incident response, hardware, imaging, hard drive, carving, data, EXIF data, all that stuff, and you like it, you're crazy. I like you, and you really need to come work for us so I don't have to do this anymore. Please. So, in a nutshell, I have a really weird background. One of the things that came up when I worked at the hospital, I developed some security awareness training because, HIPAA required it. And I was told by our risk manager, you think like a criminal. And I said, I'm not sure if you mean that as a compliment or as a derogatory comment, but I'm going to take it as a compliment. That's what's needed. If you're going to protect things, you need to know how bad guys are going to come at you. So, to that point, what I want to teach you is mistakes. We all make them. I am not standing here as some bastion of knowledge that I know everything there is to know about incident response, network forensics, Trojans, malware, how hair grows, the Bible, anything that you could say I'm an expert on. I am just somebody who's taken an interest in it. So take everything I say as my view, not as gospel. We're at a Bible college, gospel. I got to take the jokes as they come, right? But do take this. I've seen some stuff. I have been in some rather large companies that have been dealing with breaches, and they were companies that didn't have to report the breaches to you. So you probably have never heard of them. I've dealt with mom and pop shops that they're like, our computers keep rebooting and the CD tray keeps popping in and out. What's wrong? And I say, a lot. So it may be that some of these stories exist only for the purposes of edifying the people who come later. I want you to learn from their mistakes, see what I've seen, and hopefully learn to apply that for your own areas. Or teach other people too. If you're the IT guy who's in charge of training the IT guys who are in charge of answering help desk questions, who are in charge of training users, all of those people need to have a general understanding of what the hell can go wrong on those computers, so that they don't cause you more problems than the people don't cause you more problems than they're supposed to protect you against. So my first interesting story, and I am so leaving names out of every story I tell for two reasons. A, most of these people have NDAs with me, non-disclosure agreements, for those of you who are not into the acronym speak. And two, it's just to protect the stupid. So one story, one mistake that I really wish everybody would learn, and this goes back a few years, but there was a company that we were pen testing, and we found some traffic that was what we call anomalous. And that means that I didn't know what it was just by looking at it. They didn't know what it was because it wasn't documented. And it was interesting, weird pieces of data. And so what do we need to do about this? I submitted some packet captures because PCAP or GTFO. And they looked at the packet captures, I think, and they said, we have no idea what this is. What should we do? And I said, well, this could be evidence of a breach. And they're a non-breach notification type company, so they didn't have to worry about telling anybody, and it was up to them how they wanted to deal with it. And they said, okay, no, really, what should we do? I said, well, the best way to be sure that you are not losing some kind of competitive advantage, that you are not losing some kind of client information, that you are not losing some kind of IP, is shut off this channel of communication. This is traffic going into and out of their network. I said, here's the port, here's what the traffic looks like, shut it down. This is only a recommendation. And I made that very clear in my email, for which I was very glad. Does everybody know the acronym CYA? Yeah, one thing to learn as a pen tester. Anybody in here a pen tester? Okay, so, the sword and shield guys, of course. One thing to definitely learn is CY your A, and that means paper documentation for everything you tell people. So I CY'd my A by saying, this is a recommendation, it's up to you what to do with this traffic. They chose to shut it down. About a month and a half later, I get a call, and the guy this is the point of contact for the company. He tells me, just wanted to give you some FYI, future, just in case you need it. And he came across like this isn't the normal way he talks. He was agitated. That traffic that we saw, and by the way, this was a grid monitoring, infrastructure, critical, electronic type company. That traffic that you saw that was along these ports that we didn't have documented, like, yeah, did you find out what that is? He's like, yeah. That was apparently the traffic that we used to monitor the usage at some remote sites, about 70 of them. And what we didn't know and what nobody told us was that that data is what we use to bill those people. And I said, ouch. And he said, yeah, we're not going to talk dollar amounts on what we lost. I'm like, you still have my email, right? He's like, yep. It's like, you remember the part where it was a recommendation, right? Yep. It's like, I'm not fired, but we're glad about that. So you need to be paying attention to your networks. You need to be paying attention to these breaches that are going on. I don't know if you know this, but there's some really cool information out there in really pretty visualization. Informationisbeautiful.net is a site I love because it makes things very clear to visual learners. Marketing, execs, those type of people. They like their pretty diagrams. I don't know what Target paid. They're this big orange dot here to be behind the screen that tells you what you're looking at, but it had to have been a decent amount. So yeah, we're in kind of a weird state right now, right? Everybody agrees that crap is hitting the fan. Things are bad. The funny part is, and maybe this is just my conspiracy theory brain picking up, I don't think it's actually that we're getting worse at security. And I've been called out on that before. Prove it. Like, I can't. Here's the problem. We weren't paying attention for a long time to security. We don't have good numbers on how bad things were at such and such a time to compare against how bad things are. So all we're going to say in a very non-confrontational term to all our management is things are bad. So one more caveat that I want to make for this talk, the rest of this talk. I am not a researcher. I am a practitioner. And what I mean by practitioner is that I don't write a lot of my own tools. I use what's available to me. The brilliant minds stand on the shoulders of giants, as Jack mentioned this morning, to do the work that I do. I can cobble together working Trojans, and I have for reasons that we'll discuss later, but they look way worse than Frankenstein's monster. They are abominations unto the Lord of all coding and possible practices, but I can get the job done if I need to for the reasons that I need to. So my Trojans, when they're cobbled together, the note that I left for myself is that my Trojans make that guy, Frankenstein, look like a marble sculpture done by somebody famous in the past that most of us would probably recognize better as a turtle than as an artist, a ninja turtle. So, getting into the real purpose of my talk. All of that is just introduction. How long have I been talking? Way too long. I want to talk to you about rats, Trojans, remote access tools. These have recently become famous again. They've been around forever. These are the tools that we use as the pen testers emulating the bad guys, because the bad guys use them. And because they give me a lot of power for a small amount of trouble. If I can get someone to click something, if I can get someone to install something, I can put myself on their computer. It's no longer their computer. I have compromised it. I don't like how a lot of, solution provider type companies refer to all malware as one big nasty antivirus, or virus, when there's different flavors of malware that we should work with. So how many of you guys have seen a Trojan in action, other than you two? I assume you guys have. So what does a Trojan look like? It's a small little bit of programming. The good ones leave next to no footprint. They're something that a lot of times injects into memory, doesn't leave a trace, forensically speaking, on the hard drive. Or if it does, it leaves a very, very tiny, hard-to-find piece of information in prefetch. The idea behind getting a Trojan installed on a system is that you, as the user, want to put this on your system for a pleasing reason. You want a new, flashy theme on your Windows XP desktop. All of you are not using Windows XP anymore, right? A couple of you look like sad, so I'm assuming you are still using XP. The idea behind putting the Trojan in place for the user on the user's end is, I am going to get new functionality out of my system, and that's awesome. That's all I want as a user, a lot of times. And because you do that, because that's pretty normal for people, I'm able to pwn, which is a misspelling of own, that hackers like to use because we're often typing really fast. You've seen Swordfish, snap, 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 tapping, and you hit the P instead of the O, and it happens all the time. So anyway, so we use covert channels. We use the way that your computer normally communicates on the network, HTTP, SMB, FTP, Telnet, anything. And I use that in such a way as it looks like normal traffic, or it looks like bad traffic, but you're not watching anyway, so what does it matter what my traffic looks like, to call home. So I have a video here, and this is one of my older videos because all of my new videos look really bad, of how a Trojan actually works. Can you guys see that at all? It looks weird on my screen. Is it playing? No. All right, 1 second. It's playing? Okay. Can you guys make out details of that at all? Can I pause it? Okay. This is why I don't do live demos, because they don't work, and even my videos often don't work. So let's do this. Where'd I put that freaking talk? See, who all attended Jack's talk this morning? The whole prepare for problems and run through your slides a bunch of times? Yeah, I don't care how many times I do that. This kind of stuff still happens. Ta-da! All right, so, that's not working on there. Let's throw that on there. We're going to open it with a different program. For those of you following along at home, welcome to the con experience. Ooh, can you see that? Okay, so what we've got going on here is this is a common Trojan construction kit known as Dark Comet. I'm looking over at the Sword and Shield guys going, yeah, you know what I'm working with. This is actually a very easy to use Trojan construction kit, and it was so easy to use that the Syrian Electronic Army decided that they wanted to use this code for their nastiness, and so the developer said, okay, if bad guys are going to use my software, I'm going to stop updating it and kind of hide it. So if any of you are interested in getting a hold of this software, don't, because it's usually backdoored when you find it on the internet, which is, it's a Trojan. So you download a Trojan, and you get a Trojan on your system. It's Trojanception. Yeah, I know, bad reference, but anyway. So what we're doing here is, this is in a virtual environment. We're setting up a listener. We are what we're doing with the Trojan, the remote access tool, is we want it to call home to me. I put this on your computer, and your computer becomes my computer. I set up a listener, and I can set this up to go to any port I want to. I can make my traffic look like anything I want it to. I can make it look like HTTPS regular traffic that your network is constantly spewing out everywhere anyway. And it's calling home to me, to an IP that may or may not look familiar to you, to a domain that may or may not look familiar to you. And so I'm developing a way to avoid your signature detection. Your antivirus, your anti-malware is looking for this known bit of code, a signature, and I'm changing as many things about my Trojan as I can so that the signature doesn't match. It says basic AV evasion. Usually I don't have to try that hard, even in way too big of companies. Also, notice there the top line. I don't know if you can read that, but it says password. So the Trojan creator guys are really careful about their communications and make sure to use long passwords and not allow people to break their Trojan. Well, some of them do. Some of the guys were just recently pulled down because they had bad OPSEC, but we're not going to go into that. Anyway, the malware makers are often very security conscious. I wonder why. It's like they know how easy it is to break into stuff. So have all the testing tools available to make sure that my Trojan works before I put it on your network. Testing, configuration, it's so much fun. Again, we're in a virtual environment on this video. The videos that I tried to do that are more frightening setups and show you exactly how your home network can get busted, the videos didn't turn out real well. So the other thing we're doing is we're creating a little bit of social engineering here where you're going to download this program. Again, pleasing result for yourself. And I need to make it do something. Because what have IT guys said since the dawn of the 90s? That if you download something and it doesn't do anything, then it must be malware. So I'm going to make it do something. I'm going to make it pop up an error. I'm going to give it a specific error code that says, oh, the file's corrupt. Please download again. Just to, reel them in the second time in case the first time it didn't take for whatever reason. Don't mind the spelling mistakes in this video, please. And again, we have testing functionality on our software. How many of you guys have software that you've written that doesn't have good testing, opportunities like this? Continuing on here, we have a lot of capability to make things persistent, to disable firewall, to mess with your UAC. And again, this is not a sophisticated Trojan, I would say. I mean, it's really cool code, and the nice thing about it is you can write plugins for it and add your own functionality to it. It's very modular. Again, with the social engineering, I need to make it so that it's something that someone would use. And for the purposes of this video, we are trying to hack my Farmville playing mother. So I don't know if you guys saw that. We picked a Facebook icon. So when it downloads, the file will have a Facebook icon. It'll say Farmville, and we're good to go. So we're actually creating the server piece here, and we'll name it something like, Farmville. This is the piece we will want someone to put on their system. So the tricky part is always the social engineering to get someone to put it on their system. That's the keys of the kingdom I'm not going to hand off to everybody. If you want to learn that stuff, come take a hacker class, and we'll talk. Can anybody see the size of that file? 323 what? K. Tiny, tiny little file. Again, forensic hard drive carvers, good freaking luck. When this melts after being installed, very hard to find. So this is what the attack looks like. Again, assuming that I can get someone to click something or visit a website. Who here has users that click something or visit websites? Damn. I guess we're not going to get them to go away. Yeah, you'd think that checking ESPN scores in Farmville is what they're getting paid for. Also notice, this is a known Trojan construction kit at the time that we made this video. We had just updated the McAfee on this device. And I'm not picking on McAfee. If you load this up in a VirusTotal, at the time, I think maybe half of them found it, and it's well-known code. Who here is familiar with Metasploit Framework? A lot of your antivirus can find the Trojans built by Metasploit Framework, not because they're analyzing the code awesome, but because the binaries that are used as templates that everybody freaking uses have been uploaded to VirusTotal so many times that the virus companies know how to recognize it. Little tiny bit of evasion, which you can go online and go to YouTube and figure out how to do. They'll tell you how to do it. Those very easy, freely available tools are used for this kind of purposes. So, not picking on McAfee, everybody at the time would find this file to be completely safe. There's our pop-up. We hit OK. And this is what the attacker sees. Oh, look, you have a new client. New connection. You've got mail. Anybody who remembers that one? Yeah. Okay, not too many youngins in the room. Last time I presented this, I said, you've got mail, and they're just like, no. We don't get that reference, dude. We were born in 2000. So, what does the hacker see? The opened command center. And I show this as part of the classes we teach. And I actually have my guys, they've got a VM on their system, and I have them break into it. And they look at this and they say, this is an awesome remote access tool. I should use this on my network. No. Use something better like we'll talk about. But anyway, there's a lot of other software that gives you some of this functionality, just maybe not the fun manager. Hide the desktop, hide the clock, kick out the CD-ROM, play the piano. You really want to freak somebody out, put this on their system, play like the Jaws theme music at 3 a.m. on their system, or have the Microsoft Reader talk to them. Yeah, psych ops. So again, the red there is to tell the newbie hacker, don't kill that process, that's your Trojan. Because we need those kind of idiot lights. And in all honesty, we need those kind of idiot lights. So again, I can manipulate this computer. Just looking at this set of slides, does anyone here doubt the awesome power of the Trojan? If your computer is compromised by this system, by this type of software, it's not your computer anymore. It is mine. It is the malicious hackers, the malicious attackers' computer. And I put all this in not because I'm a big fan of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, but because I want you to know that these tools are out here, who all knew this was all capable, that this was all possible. Okay, everybody knew it was possible, but have you ever seen how nasty it is? All the functionality, all the capability? Maybe, maybe not. A lot of people that I talk to, again, execs, doctors, and whatnot, they just don't know what can be done. And so I show this video as a reference of, yeah, there's bad stuff you can do. And I want you to know that. The webcam, yeah, there's a bunch of other people who have already talked about the bad things you can do with webcams and Trojans and whatnot. I have full power on your system. And there's one more thing I want to say that I thought it didn't take this long to get to. So, there's other Trojans out there like this. Again, if you go to the right places on the internet, you can buy Trojans for $50, $100. And not only is the Trojan guaranteed to be undetectable, if it is somehow detected, the Trojan writer will rewrite it for you. Customer service with a smile to make sure that it stays undetectable. So, occasionally, our darknet type researcher guys, they'll check out just, okay, what can it do? Put it into a safe system and see what all it can run and just see how good it is. And there's a lot of good software out there. There's a lot of good coders and developers. I'm not one of them. Again, my Trojans do not look this cool. And then the last piece here, anybody a fan of The Usual Suspects? Greatest lie the devil ever told is that he didn't exist. Most of these Trojans that I've seen in the wild like this have some sort of uninstall feature. So I get a call at 3 a.m. way too often. My systems are broken. I can't get into anything. What the hell? Can you please come out and fix everything and make everything happy and sunshiny again? Which I usually want to say nope. But I am contractually bound to say, yes, I can fix that. So if I'm really lucky, I don't have to do it. My boss will do it because he loves forensics anymore, which is great. But I'll get that call at 3 a.m., like I did about a year ago from a company in a windy city a while away from here. And basically the client said, we know we're compromised because we tried to install, we had anti-malware version, company A. We tried to install anti-malware company B's software. While we did that, the window closed, the computer shut down, and some other computers shut down all of a sudden. Can you fix that? Oh, and our phones are ringing off the hook and have been for 2 days. Every phone in our office. We're going a little crazy. And so my boss says, why, yes, I'll put my best man on that. He looks over at me. You have a bag packed? You're going to Chicago. Something always goes wrong when I go to Chicago. We're not going to get into why. But something always goes wrong, and something went wrong that trip. But the main problem that happened is these people had been compromised. The malicious attacker on the other end had seen them attempting to clean up the mess. Melted away. And it was very hard to track down what the hell happened. The only reason that these people had even gone to the length of installing a second malware detecting system is because they were alerted to 3 wire transfers in the order of like 50 grand. And the bank alerted them, hey, you just lost 150 grand in these 3 wire transfers. And they're like, that's weird. All our wire transfers should be in the millions. So again, it's not that they detected it. It's that their bank told them something weird happened, and they called us. And that was, in my opinion, based on what we could figure out vaguely. There wasn't a lot of forensics there to work with. There wasn't any malicious traffic leaving the network after I got there. That was probably what a really good rat looks like. It was something that during the normal course of user operations, whatever their normal job was, it was slipped into their process. Again, a website they visit, an ad maybe on a page that they went to, an email attachment from somebody who had already been compromised. Any number of ways, they had already been taken that way. There's some really good examples for how these systems get into other deeper systems. Again, slipping into executing existing executables, portable executables, hiding your code in other people's code. It's great. And the thing they didn't realize is, yes, it had, that one in particular had some traffic going out, but there was other, like, logic bombs, problems left on their network that they were unaware of. Those systems that shut down after the other system was shut down, yeah, they had all been formatted. Yeah, just partitions removed and, no D-band level format, but, those systems probably had other stuff on them. And the attacker had some other method of communication outside of his primary compromise. Which, if you're curious, Raphael Mudge has a great tool called Cobalt Strike. Anybody use this? Yes. Beautiful tool. Beacon is his answer to, this is how the bad guys do it. I think the pen testers ought to have the same capability. And anybody can go get his software and play with it. I highly recommend it, because if you want to see advanced threat emulation, this is the software to use. Not just because I love Raphael and he's a beautiful human being, but because it's really good software. So, what are we going to do about this? I have presented you with a problem, a tension, if you will, from earlier in the day, and I hope to provide a little bit of cathartic response. How do we clean up these kind of incidences? What do we do? What do we expect? The general response that I see from most companies is, oh crap, we need to call somebody. And then when they call somebody, me, again, 3 a.m., and I say, okay, what's abnormal on your network? They, I can't see them, but I assume their face gets really confused because there's a pause on the phone line. And I say, okay, you're not sure what the abnormal, suspicious behavior is. Do you know what normal behavior is on your network? And there's another pause. Because nobody has a baseline. Nobody has a standard operations. In my experience, and again, just my experience, but it's been echoed by a lot of other people, most people don't know their own damn networks. Who here has an awesome Visio diagram of their network with data flow? Yeah, 2 hands. How old are those documents? Plus or minus 30 days. Yeah, 6 months, that's the shortest I think I've heard. 3 months, awesome. That's better than most people. Again, 2 people in this room of however many people that is. The response is always dependent on what do you already know about your network. Most people know nothing about their network. So they know nothing about how to clean it up. They know nothing about what traffic looks good, what traffic looks bad, what systems communicate to what other systems, what their users normally do. Nothing. And here's the problem. All the literature that you read about incident response says, take care of this suspicious thing, take care of that suspicious thing. You don't know what suspicious is if you don't know what normal is. And that's one of those like, duh comments that everybody goes, yeah, that's absolutely true. And then we kind of, oh, right, I was going to do that on my network, but then somebody's birthday and a doctor came in and yelled at me that I was killing people, and just all this kind of stuff happens, and we can't get a freaking inventory. So we know to be afraid of this stuff. We know that the answer to figuring out most of these incidences, most of the response that we do, Parameter has a little bit of a class going that this is how you respond. This is what you need to know before you ever call us, that we provide a few of our clients. And it basically comes down to take some freaking inventory. Gentleman that was just speaking was talking about systems that get walled up in hospitals because they're running, and they obviously need to run. We have no idea what they do, so let's just hide them. We all have encountered that computer that's on the network, and we go, wait a second. I didn't put that in place. My number 2 guy didn't put that in place. It's not on a record anywhere. It's not in my SpiceWorks. It's not in my management dashboard. What is this system? How many of you guys actually scan your own internal network? Yay! More than 2 people raised their hands, which is weird for this talk. So a gentleman by the name of Ben 10, not his real name, did a talk at DerbyCon last year called It's Okay to Touch Yourself, which is, again, a great topic title. And it's just as kind of squicky as you think it might be. And he does a really good job, especially when you consider the fact that Ben 10 looks like he's 12. And he starts talking about, interesting innuendo type stuff and how to touch your network, because he wrote an awesome tool called pwnd Framework. Anybody? Yes, beautiful tool. To touch your network. Ben ran into the problem of, again, healthcare guy. I admire healthcare guys, can't help it. I know the hell they've been through. So I look out for them as much as possible and talk them up as much as possible. He said, I have no budget. Shared problem with most of you guys, yeah. I need a tool that uses tools I already have to know more stuff about my network. I can't whitelist something like Nmap, which is another great tool. So I need something that works with my Windows environment. And he said, oh, there's already this pwsec stuff going on, PowerShell, for those of you that aren't familiar with Posh. If only I could make it into some kind of management-ready dashboard type setup. And so he built the framework. Another gentleman whose name escapes me wrote the pwsec modules, and this is an ongoing open source, pseudo-open source effort. And Microsoft, the people who do Windows and PowerShell, is fully behind this project. If you look at Jay Snover's stuff on Twitter, he loves these guys. So if you're in an environment that you're a little bit unsure of exactly what all is on your network, and you need a tool, and you're running a Windows network, most people are, this is the tool that I would recommend you use. It's one of many. It's free, or for certain definitions of free when you consider you're already buying Windows. If you're somebody with a little more power, a little more Linux foo power, although you can run it on Windows, just works better on Linux, Nmap is a great tool. This is what the pen testers use. This is what the bad guys use to figure out what the hell is connected to your network. I have a system. Nmap finds me all the systems. Exactly. It's been in Matrix and a few other movies. I think if you go to insecure.org, they have a list of all the movies that Nmap has appeared in, which is just a great, bar bet winner right there. So what are you going to find when you start looking at your network? That's the question that I often get in classes that I teach. You are not going to find smoking guns of IR hacker I own system, though it is possible. I've run across one so far. But very rarely do you find that good of a smoking gun. You very rarely find missing logs. This is one of those that when I took one of my Security Plus boot camp POS wish I hadn't paid for type classes back when I was very young network admin, that's what they always told us to look for. Early 2000s, late 90s, this was the smoking gun is, oh, we don't have any logs here. Somebody's been in here. We know there's been a breach. We don't know what to do after that, but we know there's been a breach. So very rarely will you find that. And never, ever remove one piece of malware and think you're breach-free clean. I don't know about you, but if I can get one system popped, I can get the rest of the systems popped usually. If I can put one piece of malware on your network, I can put 2 or 3 or 20 very, very easily. And so why would the bad guys who have way more time than I do just use one piece of malware? And I reiterate this because, again, you will very rarely find problems in a network that can all be traced back to one specific signature. Symantec gave me a how to clean it up guide, and now I'm clean and safe again. No. So no. So the answer that, or the response that I usually get when I start presenting this to clients is, Ben, but that's freaking hard. I don't want to do an inventory. I don't want to look at my networks. I don't want to read my firewall logs. How should I do stuff? Here's the problem. It's not an easy answer. There is no panacea. Does anybody in here sell solutions? Work for somebody that sells the blinky light box of compliance? Thank God. There is no one-size-fits-all panacea. There really isn't. I wish there was. The NSA puts out a handy little guide on spotting the adversary. No political comments, please. And then Gibson 3D. This is an interesting project, and this is the white paper for how this software should be installed. It's a 3D visualization for network monitoring. It kind of gives you the what I refer to as the Jurassic Park Unix visualization, the blue and pink boxes, which is kind of cool. And if you take a bunch of time and set it up right, you will be able to see in better detail what the hell is going on your network. And I talked to some of our clients there in St. Louis. I don't know how familiar you guys are, but there's some big players. And when I say, no, you need to be watching your network, they go, Ben, our network is really freaking big. We can't watch it all. I'm like, oh, you also don't want to spend time in jail or get fined, so your choice. Figure out what's important and at least start somewhere. My experience in the IT world has commonly been small enterprise. Hundreds, maybe 1,000 nodes monitoring until I started doing this work. Then I had to scale up really fast. But it doesn't change. Whether you have 100 nodes or you have 100,000 nodes, you need to be able to delegate out, figure out the most important critical components, and detect what's going on those computers. Build a baseline. Jack was mentioning SANS top 20. First two are inventory. Inventory of systems, inventory of applications. The next thing I always try to add to that is inventory your freaking people and what they're supposed to be doing. And that feeds into a lot of the HIPAA compliance and PCI compliance that I have to work with. I usually take a shot after saying PCI. So anyway, if you can detect what's going on, if you know what your normal is, then you can find what's abnormal. That's what's going to be the most important thing you can do on your network in this hacker's perspective. And it's not that you're going to be able to prevent everything bad going on in your network. It's kind of like my freaking 1-year-old learning to walk, and we have stairs in our house. My wife's like, we're going to gate everything. No, I don't like stepping over gates. The kid's going to fall. I just know that's going to happen. I'm not going to try and prevent it. He needs to learn how to walk downstairs. I'm going to contain the damage. The stairs are padded. The bottom of the stairs, for a little while, had a mattress laying on it so that if the kid took a tumble, he'd be fine. I'm an old school parent. They didn't have seatbelts in the truck I rode in as a kid. Which explains a lot, doesn't it? You contain the damage. You can't prevent people from making stupid click on this crap, install this software problems, but you can keep that software from then communicating out your network if you're watching it, if you're whitelisting stuff. You can contain how many systems that computer can talk to. If it's the business unit that only needs to talk to other computers and maybe a server in that business unit, why the hell can it talk to my print server, my DC, the dev group, the freaking Australia office? Why? Segment. It's easy. Contain the problem. And then, once you've detected and contained, can you recover then from the damage? Oh crap, we're breached. Oh crap, these systems have malware on them. There's no semantic guide to clean up this malware. What do? Deban it. Start over. Recover however you need to recover. All of these things need to be determined, risk assessment, all that kind of crap, to what's important, what comes first, what does this, what does that. And yeah, that's hard work. These are freaking dirty words. When I mention this to my clients, I'm like, yeah, you're going to have to document all this stuff and pay attention to your inventory and keep track of your people. They all kind of start acting like whiny kindergartners. But I don't want to. Okay, go to jail. I don't care. You can get fined a couple million. It's not my money. I'm just giving you recommendations. And they really hate it. CYA. You're paying me to tell you what you ought to do, not what you got to do. That's for your management to decide. So I try and give them this option. And again, this is something I've taken flack for, and I really don't care. We go into this as IT people as people are going to mess up. People are going to cause problems. We are there to support the business, keep us making money, and we're going to fail to protect our people. And that hurts. A lot of us don't deal well with that kind of hurt, pain, and rejection. So if you're going to fail to protect these people from themselves, at least fail with style. Do it in such a way that you can show them, here's where I said we ought to do this, you said no, and it cost us $1 million in fines. So let's revisit the question. Spend $10,000 today so that this $1 million fine doesn't happen again. You want to go with this? And I call that failing with style. And I was going to put an image of Buzz Lightyear, the whole falling with style on there, but all the images are copyrighted, so just visualize. Use your imagination. 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 No, we're not going to do that. And you hear everybody chuckling, so no South Park fans. Fail with style. You know you're going to fail to protect them 100% of the time. That's why we have stuff like insurance. The more you contain and recover after detecting, the less damage there will be. And Adam just stood here and said, I don't believe in ROI. That's fine. You can not believe in ROI all you want. ROI believes in you. Your return on investment, the biblical stuff, it just falls out of here. ROI believes in you. You can get a return on investment in same ways you get a return on investment in insurance. Has anybody heard the joke, pseudo-reality that insurance is buying peace of mind? I know I'm going to fail, but at least I spent that $10,000 so that I won't fail so spectacularly I end up on Forbes. It's a worthwhile goal. So that's what I'd like to see change in InfoSec. That's just my view. Again, I'm not giving a huge technical talk about how to write Trojans because mine look bad. If you want to learn to write software, there are better people out there for that than me. If you want to learn how hackers think and how I do things in my happy clients, I'd be free to chat with you later. All the different ways to get a hold of me, although Parameter Hacker is the official Parameter Twitter. So we do a lot of that stuff. We just had our ShowMeCon. A few of the speakers that were here were also at that. We're having another one in 2015, and I'm plugging it so that it'll be on Adrian's site and mentioned. I hope you all come. One more shout out. Today I am missing the graduation of my dear friend and student, Callie. And I told her that I'm sorry I had to miss. I really wanted to come to this event. I was asked to speak. I wanted to educate all of you. And so I said I would do something to get her up on irongeek.com. So can everybody in the room, real quick, 1, 2, 3, say Happy Graduation Day, Callie.
Happy Graduation Day, Callie.
Yes, and it was almost in time. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Callie. I hope you're watching this later. Any questions? She's a little older than that, so we prefer to think of her as Callie's mascot. They named it after her. Any other questions? Anything about Trojans, HIPAA, hospitals, doctors being idiots? Why, yes, it is. That's what her parents really named her after. Apparently, something. So again, I think I'm all that's standing between you guys and alcohol at some point here. We're having a party. So if you guys want to get to that instead of asking me questions, go for it. Support these two organizations if you get the chance. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Bsides Nashville.